Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to another recording session of Hearthstone. So, this is awkward. I accidentally clicked the preview button on my recording and I didn't click stop preview. So, and I didn't notice, so I was talking for 30 full minutes, did a whole episode, got some quests done, did the tavern brawl, and nobody gets to see any of that because it didn't actually record. It was just locked in the preview. So now I need to cover all the topics again. Let's play the Tavern Brawl again. This is an ironic twist of fate because it means that some of the progress here is already done. So this Tavern Brawl just has us play as one of the three gangsters of Gadgetstan. So we're going to either play as the Goons, the Cabal, or the Jade Empire. If I'm lucky, they'll have me play as one of the 4 characters I also need to play, which I believe is the Hunter, the Priest, or the Mage.
Goons versus the Jade Lotus.
I'm not sure I need to play as Paladin.
Protect the wild.
So I'm not sure if we're really gonna... If I lose here, I'm probably just gonna move on to casual play. That was the thing I was gonna do. And so now I'm also in this weird position. We're playing with the Goons.
Alright, I want Gadgetstan for myself.
And they're the Jade Empire. Because I was talking a lot about how I was playing Resident Evil 6 and how Resident Evil 6 is an awful game. And I'm not sure I really want to talk about it again after talking about it. Resident Evil 6, though, is an awful game, so I guess I do need to warn people. And it is terrifying about the hype versus what the potential reality of Resident Evil 7 may be. To my eye, Resident Evil 7 looks a lot like PT. It looks like it's got a lot of chances of being really good. It feels like some of the elements are going to just be like the first game where the
Gadgetstan belongs to the Jade Lotus, and the Lotus belongs to me.
Jade Lotus, is that what they call it instead of the Jade Empire?
To say about that.
But it seems like you're gonna have very few enemies you fight, and they're gonna randomly spawn in RE7. Because we've seen in trailers where enemies show up sometimes, and at other times they don't. Let's see.
Reporting for duty.
Oops, that didn't work.
Bring the pain.
Job done.
I'm kind of trying to wait till this so I can strengthen my characters once I have this guy out there. But I may never get that opportunity with these characters. The horror element does mostly exist after you cast a spell. Ooh, that's not the right character. Fighting before this.
They happen, you know.
More weapons. How original.
Job's done.
There we go. But yeah, RE6 is awful. It is this chopped up story of 4 different characters playing 4 different completely incongruent stories, where you go from scene to scene to scene, and there's really no explanation or reasoning why you're in one scene or the other. You change scenes like crazy.
Last warning.
So you'll end up underground, and then you'll end up in an underground facility, and then you'll end up in an underground facility's sewer system, and it just keeps going and going and going, and in less than an hour you can travel through 5 different areas with nothing in the areas. The rooms, often the hallways are just empty. with nothing to do, just for conversation's sakes or some other reason. Let's see. Charge Divine Shield. Here I want summon 2 copies of itself. Or this.
Let me think.
This one.
Mind if I roll need?
And then do 2 copies of itself.
Get them, boys.
There we go. You're constantly running out of bullets in the game. The game wants you to play it 25 times in each campaign because it wants you to play all of the game on easy, hard, easy, normal, hard, very hard, and very, very hard. Effectively. So that's 5 different times that the records want you to play each campaign. And then there's a secondary character you also have to play as, so you play it 10 times. And then there's 4 campaigns, so then they want you to do it 40 times. So, like, it's really ridiculous. Incredibly, incredibly ridiculous.
Put your faith in the light.
Such a shame.
There we go. So it wants you to be incredibly repetitive while you're not really having fun. I ran through one character's campaign and consistently throughout the whole campaign, every single encounter was uninteresting. Every single interaction was boring and unfun and just awful
you're gonna
on
love
every
this.
aspect.
I don't like that look, Aya. Goyle has crazy eyes.
Let's see, this guy dies at 6. Can I deal this and then a spell? No.
Don't worry, loves. The cavalry's here.
Let's see.
Giddy up!
This.
They happen, you know?
This.
I'm on fire. Justice.
But there's some slight sexism I talked about in Resident Evil 6 2. One of the main boss ladies is turned into a monster who's effectively naked and writhing on the ground in somewhat odd sexual ways as you're shooting her, which is in itself a weird thought. One of the main characters has 2 different outfits that they're specifically
Hey, join the goats or meet my fist. Rally, goats!
This guy is gonna destroy everything, and yet he's gonna be super powerful when he does it.
Like to play with fire. Giddy up! For justice.
Like, one of the main characters has 2 outfits with severe sharp V-neck cleavage going. They put another character in a medical outfit with severe cleavage showing too, and then the main male character in that scene ogles her. That same character who gets put in this medical thing with V-neck cleavage thing
No. This is no good.
is specifically, it makes a lot more ideas in the story. It makes a lot more sense in the story that she would be the main pick as the character that you would play as in the game, and it just doesn't happen that way. They specifically put the male character who is less important and not the person who would be the person in charge. They put him in charge, and it kind of consistently happens in the thing. To explain it better, the guy in this story is under
The light shall bring
protection of the girl.
Let the
The
hunt
girl is a
begin.
secret agent for some agency of some sort. So that she sought him out, she found him, she's trying to bring him to her bosses, and yet so she should totally be in charge, and yet they immediately turn it around. They immediately put him in charge. He's telling her what to do the whole time. She takes no control of the situation. In a similar way, another character is a military guy, and he doesn't act like he follows any kind of military discipline at all, which is ridiculous. And his entire campaign as a military guy that makes the game feel like a military shooter with zombies, which is fine, but it's not what Resident Evil is. It just can't be what Resident Evil is now, because we've had too many survival horror games called Resident Evil. So if they wanted to make a military shooter with zombies, you then are just competing with the zombie DLCs of the few games out there that are military shooters. Let's see, explosive trap, or after you use the hero power,
Job's done.
deal 5 damage to a random enemy. So if he heals himself, he'll lose 5 damage. Interesting. I still have about 1.5 campaigns to do on
Job's done.
on Resident Evil 6, but I'll be glad to be done with it. I'll be glad to see if I can get back to playing Skyrim.
Drink the power.
As far as Skyrim is concerned, we're kind of making our way towards the end of it, but there's still a lot more to do, because of the fact of because of the DLC. Turns out one of the DLCs that I have installed is causing the vampires to attack people and kill some of the non-playable characters. And it turns out the recent patch made them slightly less deadly, or the special edition made them slightly less deadly, because, well, I don't know. I read this article and there was like 7 surprising things different in special edition, and I don't know if I really believe any of those things are new at all.
No look,
But they claim that vampires are less deadly now. I don't know if I believe that, because we've still seen a few non-playable characters just get attacked in those scenarios, and that's obviously that wasn't planned originally, because then they wouldn't have had important characters right next to the gates in cities. But yeah, I'd like to get back to Skyrim and move forward on that. See if I really want to go and finish and play the game more. I think we're almost certainly going to say no at this point. Having taken a little bit of a break from it, I just don't think there's enough of experiences to happen there. I think maybe we could also just leave it for potentially a new continuation. I have other RPGs I still want to play. I've been talking about playing Borderlands for a long time, and I guess in a thought, Gearbox has been gracious enough to not actually come out with a new Borderlands game, so they've given me enough time, although that's kind of, I'm kind of damning them with faint praise there, to say, oh, they're so nice to not make a sequel to their best-selling game series. They're killing themselves doing it, certainly. But hopefully they'll come back and fix that. Let's go through the things I talked about last time. A man apparently stole $2 million, I think from his employee, maybe through money laundering, and spent it on Game of War. Best I can figure what happened is an employer gave somebody a phone that had an account on it, and because of that, because it had that account on it,
Oh dear! The better to eat you with.
it had like a credit card on it. Is what I'm saying. He just went to town and nobody was paying attention. Ideally, if you're going to give an employee a phone, you would not allow purchases. You would not have a valid credit card in there, and you would not. You would be watching it if for some reason they did need the credit card. Almost certainly, this feels like this was somebody who was working in a relatively high position, where they felt that they could trust their employee, and that was a mistake. Like, employees shouldn't trust employers, and employers shouldn't trust employees. Whenever this here takes damage, this minion takes it instead. 3 of the top line Netgear routers, the really high line ones, have some kind of vulnerability in them that is so bad that they're saying just don't use them at all. This is one of those scenarios where a security company has announced these huge vulnerabilities, and Netgear is going to take forever to investigate it, so there's just no patch available and no real way to get the patch on there. There is almost a thought on that Google router to have something like that.
So kind of you to join me.
Where, because the Google router automatically updates itself. So the idea of having a router that calls home and updates and does security patches, if you trust Google to do that, which as far as their Nest products, I mean, I have a Nest thermostat. I'm not very happy with its performance, but it does update every now and then, so I'm assuming it's closing vulnerabilities and running tight security, hopefully. I don't recall ever seeing a story where like all Nest devices have been hacked and used as a botnet or anything like that, or all Nest data has been lost. So that that general idea seems mostly safe. So that idea is kind of nice to call home and get an upgrade. That being said, the Samsung Galaxy Note phone is just about to receive an update that will permanently brick it and make it impossible to be used at all. But in that case, I think that probably is the only update you can do. I guess we'll start with Druid or Rogue. Yeah. Do I want to do combos or death rattles, or do I want to play as the Druid, which is the custom Druid? Or do I want to play as the Druid as taunts? Let's see, we'll try a taunt and then we'll try a death rattle and see which one it works. So yeah, I guess that is really the only patch you can do with a phone that potentially is going to explode, is to say turn it off, we'll give you a replacement, a refund. They're not giving replacements. That's kind of the problem too.
Malfurion versus
They need to hold a list of everybody who bought the Note 7 and then see if they can offer some kind of deal where they would take back whatever phone they have now and sell them the Galaxy S8 or the Note S8, whatever the next one is, at a significant discount, and just say sorry about that. Really, that would be what I would say they should do. effectively, Valve has released Dota 3, but they can't use the number 3 because then people will just complain about Half-Life 3 not ever coming out, so they're calling it Dota 2 7.0. Now, I don't know anything really about Dota, but from what I hear from people who also mostly don't know that much about Dota, it is a major upgrade to almost everything, so that's interesting, and I'm happy for it. I don't think I could ever really get into Dota since it's a MOBA. It's a multiplayer online game. Those two words right there pretty much eliminate a game for my channel. At least right now. Maybe if I found somebody that I trusted, this fictional person who was potentially already doing their own YouTube channel, and we were going to collaborate and play online, and we really got together and could schedule things, which would be really hard because of my insomnia and all that. Just to maintain a recording schedule is a nightmare. I've been watching a lot of Trollcraft, which is done by Captain Sparkles and Sunday and Craner. And man, did I saw an old video of Craner, and his voice was even more annoying back then. He's gotten better, surprisingly. But my point there is, on Trollcraft, like, Sunday only records like once a week. Craner is recording like 2 or 3 times now. He's just getting more and more because his channel's exploding. And so he's doing more and more every day. So he's doing like 2 videos a day, honestly. And then Captain Sparkles does it almost every day. Or maybe Captain Sparkles does it every Monday to Friday, and Trainer is doing it every day. So there's a slight difference there. So my point is, coordinating all of these things to record, even at alternating times, is a big production. And in that scenario, they specifically can't record at the same times because they're trolling each other, and it would be silly if one player could see what the other player was doing. Somebody's announced this new game called Old Time Hockey for the PC. And what's interesting there is that I don't think there's really any hockey games on there. So it doesn't look like it's a very good game. It looks like a Nintendo 64 NHL game, which I played one of those, and it was moderately fun. I was mostly interested in the fighting aspect of it, but the fact that there's no competition kind of would push me into getting this game, just because I want some more diversity. Eventually, I will get around to playing like a rugby game and a soccer game, and I've already played a billiards game because that is a sport I actually kind of enjoy. I've played pinball, if you call that a sport, which you should. Chinese New Year's gonna come around. I'm gonna play mahjong. I've done a solitary game. Those are sports too. I'll eventually play a football game. I'm not gonna do it every year a new FIFA. I'm not gonna do every year a new football, NFL or anything like that. But I'm happy to see that there would be at least one. It's kind of a shame it's not a very good quality one, but whatever. So this guy needs to lose his ability so he dies. But if he kills me, that's gonna die anyway, so
For the wild.
I don't know what I specifically should do here. And then right about the same time, wow, it does take me almost the exact same amount of time to talk about the same subjects. This is a very interesting discovery, since I don't usually talk about the same subjects twice in a row. And I kept going back to Resident Evil 6. I was really bad in the recording that wasn't a recording. Just talking about how bad it was and just repeating myself, and a lot of uhs and ums, and maybe I've woken up a little bit more now, and so that's helping with that. but the final thing I had crossed out is The Last Guardian sucks, which I think we've already talked about, but Dead Rising 4 has outsold it. It is worth, one of the things that drove me to was the idea that in this modern world where we have Dead Rising 4 and we have Dying Light and we have Dead Island and we have Call of Duty Zombies mode, there's a lot of games with zombies in it, and if Resident Evil is not going to tell its story with its kind of mutated zombies that really aren't zombies, it's BOWs, and have its slightly campy but still mostly serious survival horror aspects, if it's not going to do what it did and has done well, then what's going to happen is we're going to quickly find replacements for it. It costs 2 less if your opponent has at least 3 minions. Let's see. Can I defeat this guy now? 7-8 with a taunt, 8-8 with a taunt. 9-4-12. I think this is probably the best move at the moment. So yeah, Resident Evil's really got to turn a new leaf on 7 and do quality going forward forever. But then in that aspect, it's somewhat related, somewhat not. When we think about The Last Guardian being bad, it's just taking forever to make a game that's really not that good. It's at best moderately acceptable, but very old. I kind of have to think from a different perspective of the video game creators and think to myself, what if instead they had not spent that effort and just turned out The Last Guardian when it was bad and moved on to the next project? For every bad game that gets handed out here, could it possibly turn into a, let's see,
100 kings will rise again.
fresh mana crystals,
I'm not ready.
and kill. I don't think I'm gonna survive this one. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm Last Guardian. Maybe for every bad game that gets chunked out there, there's a good game behind it. We almost see something like that in Assassin's Creed. For every bad game that gets thrown out there, the next year the other team makes a good game and they have more time for it. But no, I really can't condone doing something like that. I would much rather they had still not put out The Last Guardian and just said, look, the game's bad, we had to start over from scratch, we're gonna do it right. Or, the game's bad, we can't make a video game out of it at all, so we're instead going to turn it into a movie, or manga, or a comic book, or a story, or we're just gonna release it as it is, unfinished, and historically let you know how it's done. But to finish it and still not have it be good, I think that's unacceptable. I'd rather have a painter die with 1,000 unfinished bad paintings than try to sell one bad painting. Of course, that's not going to help the painter's pocketbook, is it? Anywho, that's it for this recording. Hopefully this one did record. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want to support me further, you can go to my YouTube page. On the right is a button that says support this channel. Click it, make a donation. And if you want to friend or follow me on basically any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.